ladies, gents, and everyones. It is Thursday, October 28th, and we're here to talk about this week's space and astronomy news. After 2 weeks of radio silence with Mars, thanks to the biennial solar conjunction, the Mars helicopter just took its 14th successful flight. On Mars, the air density changes with the seasons, and it's currently decreasing. To be able to keep flying, Ingenuity needs to adapt to these changing conditions by spinning its rotor faster at about 2,700 RPM. So Ingenuity did a high-speed 2,800 RPM test on the ground back in September, and that went well, and it was supposed to be followed shortly after by this high-speed test flight on September 18th. However, that didn't happen because during the pre-flight checks, Ingenuity detected anomalies, and so it didn't take off. So the flight was postponed until after conjunction, and now on Sunday it went off fine, and this is great news for the continued operation of Ingenuity, which, keep in mind, is already operating well beyond its planned mission. In the past 30 years, we've discovered thousands of exoplanets and determined that planetary systems are basically ubiquitous in our galaxy. However, most of the methods that we use to detect exoplanets can't really be used on stars in other galaxies, even though we think that they probably also have these exoplanet populations. Well, a paper published this week in Nature announced the possible first ever detection of an extragalactic exoplanet. So the transit method uses the small dip in brightness when a planet passes in front of its star to infer the existence of those planets. Well, this team did the same thing, but they used a high-energy X-ray source, an X-ray binary located in the galaxy M51. And from this X-ray transit data, it looks like there's a Saturn-sized planet orbiting the X-ray binary. So this object is actually a planetary candidate. That is, it's not confirmed, but this is still a really exciting discovery, and I'm super excited to see where this goes with extragalactic exoplanets. Last week, we talked about Starlab and NASA's commercial low Earth orbit destination project. Well, apparently some of the other companies were feeling left out of all the fun because this week, another commercial space station venture has been announced: Orbital Reef. Orbital Reef was announced by Blue Origin with partner companies Sierra Space, Redwire Space, Boeing, and Genesis Engineering Solutions, along with Arizona State University. The space station is planned to begin operations in the second half of the decade and is intended to be a mixed-use business park in space. The station is expected to support up to 10 residents and is available for things like research, manufacturing, media, and hospitality for the clients. Orbital Reef claims that it will offer end-to-end services for its clients, including transportation to the station. That transportation will be accomplished on board Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, which, keep in mind, still has not completed a successful cargo test flight to the ISS. The station itself is going to be launched into orbit by Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, which is still in development and not targeted for its first test flight until at least the fourth quarter of 2022. Two interesting and related papers were published this week in Nature regarding a possible technosignature signal from the star Proxima Centauri. Now, Proxima Centauri is the closest star to us, and we know that it has a planet in its habitable zone. So it's one of the targets of the Breakthrough Listen project, which is searching for technosignatures. Breakthrough Listen uses a radio telescope to look, or since it's radio, listen, for narrowband signals that might be from non-naturally occurring sources. Yes, aliens. Since 2016, Proxima Centauri has had over 4 million signals flagged for analysis via the Breakthrough Listen project. Now, however, after several layers of checks and for things like Earth interference and signal to noise, etc., only one signal remained from 2019, and this signal is called BLC1. So BLC1 was considered a signal of interest because it was long duration, it was narrow band at about 982 megahertz, it was present when the telescope was pointing at Proxima Centauri, but not when the telescope was pointing away, and any transmitters of that frequency on Earth were not located within 1,000 kilometers of the detecting telescope. The signal also exhibited drift that was consistent with orbital motion, such as you might expect from a planet. So, oh my god, aliens! Alas, no. So the other paper goes more in depth on the analysis of this particular signal and finds that it is actually radio frequency interference from here on Earth. This interference wasn't flagged in any of the initial checks that was done on this signal because it wasn't from a single transmitter. It was from a complex interplay between the observing cadence, time-varying transmitters, frequency harmonics. It was very complicated. But the scientists drilled down, did the analysis, and were able to figure out the source of this signal. Now, while this may be a somewhat disappointing conclusion to the story of BLC1, it's actually really important for such things like technosignature searches because it gives scientists more tools on how to properly analyze these signals, so that if we do discover something, we can be more sure that it's not a false positive. Lastly, a little toilet drama in space. It was widely reported last month that during the recent all-civilian Inspiration4 mission, there was an issue with the toilet that triggered an alarm, and the crew had to work through the issue with ground control, but they said that it was all resolved fine. However, details about the incident and what exactly malfunctioned or went wrong were kind of hard to come by. Unsurprisingly, neither SpaceX nor the crew really wanted to talk that much about it, but they did say that the spacecraft remained clean. Well, now we know a little more. And while, yes, the living space of the capsule did remain clean, not everything did. So it turns out that a tube that's supposed to direct urine into a tank came loose and sprayed some urine onto the fan. So the fan is for suction because there's no gravity to direct the pee where you want it to go. So this pee got on the fan and it got sprayed all around this compartment that's located underneath the floor of the Crew Dragon capsule. And it turns out that this pee spraying in that compartment was not unique to the Inspiration4 mission. An investigation of the capsule that the Crew 2 mission used earlier this year revealed that there were traces of contamination in that compartment, that is, pee. Luckily, this doesn't seem to have caused any significant damage for the crew that will be using that capsule to return home in a couple weeks. SpaceX has now upgraded the toilet system so that this will hopefully no longer happen for the upcoming Crew 3 launch on Sunday, and hopefully the pee will stay where it is supposed to. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.